He's deceased.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, we got
They're listening.
3 on Boulevard, height, inspection.
Yeah, I have
one stay, it's silence and trees first. And then, one of the little business, so.
Yeah.
He's always looking at these balls. I haven't used the house out down on
We
the
changed the rounds
Yeah.
of interest.
so that's crazy. Jim asked me.
No, I didn't listen.
About everything else on purpose.
The people in Columbus and Florida have been stuck too. Because we get all that stuff and like, what you guys do, and so like, they've been really receptive, pretty much everybody has. It's the one-off town home developers that are just literally honestly like source ones to do. They're the ones that are like, we don't have to listen to you, okay? We'll see how they go through your variant review case, and you have to go before the BR. Let me know how that works out. Then they get mad, and it's like, I would have tried to talk to you. You know, all you have to do is just, listen. If I'm gonna build a garbage product in my neighborhood, I'll shut it down over time.
Got 2 channels, 1 with 4 units, and 4 detached garage.
I did not.
But,
I didn't. Going. Call the meeting to order. We've got 6:02. Public comment.
We don't have anyone online.
Okay. Number 3, approval of the April 16 meeting minutes.
get a call.
No. Oh, I guess I got a call. I can't read right now. Fred,
Here.
Jeff,
Here.
Kareem.
Here.
Chris. Tina. Raj.
Here.
Justin,
Here.
Matt. Mike, here. Oh. I'll go for public comment. I'm assuming it stays none, and action item approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion, changes, alterations? All those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Okay, number 4, reports. The good doctor.
Okay, I'm sorry to have a hard copy of this, but you did get really. So we are getting close to finishing up the document. We have a pretty good draft. It still has some holes in it. We still have several edits to do and several other entries to make with the document, of course. But at least you open it up online, you can sort of see the whole thing. So we have it here. We can sort of scroll through it pretty quickly. Just to update you on what's exactly in the document. So you'll recall from a while back, gave you the table of contents. That's still pretty much the structure for the document. It has changed a little bit. That is, there's some sub chapters that have been moved around or been added, let's say. But this first part is just an orientation to the Tampa High School front CRA, and we're just talking about this first update since the original plan was adopted. And some of these maps, we're trying to be consistent in how we're showing these. For the most part, they will always show this dashed red line, even if it's a map of something that's adjacent to the CRA. So they'll always be in reference to the actual CRA boundaries. And I always tell my students, this is a sort of from doing community design work. I always tell them not to use the red line on the map. Because in certain instances, it means something. Yes, it's me, okay? So, I guess but yes, yeah, we're doing. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, but the reason we're doing it, of course, it just sort of shows up better on the map, so you'll see it over and over again, even different places, okay? Lisa, can you go back to that map for just a second? So on that map, you can barely see it, but you'll see it better on the document. But there's this dash sort of circular line around it. And what we're showing is that this is the sort of quarter-mile pedestrian shed that we often use to sort of show within a 5 to 10 minute walk. Okay, these are the buildings, the houses, or other commercial establishments, let's say, that are within walking distance to the heart of a particular area. Sometimes there might be two of these circles that may go out and move a bit further, which is, not showing you the way the map is formatted.
That radius is usually, that radius varies, you say.
It's usually, we say a quarter mile, which is, 1,420 feet. But sometimes it's just expressed differently. So, uh, 5 to 10. Okay. Again, just more background about the CRA. That picture above is from way back when there was literally nothing here, well, not very much. The lower image just sort of shows the CRA and the highest context. Now, immediately after this introduction, as part of this, we talk about the CRA plan update goals and objectives. And I think this is something we certainly early on to make sure that the document is addressing the types of pride issues that we were apprised of when we first started. Then we go into the statutory requirements, and we're trying to be specific here about how the plan has to meet all of the parameters that are set out in the chapter 163 for statutes say. So we're listing item, each one. So the requirement is in the left-hand column. The middle column talks about the intent of that particular part of the statute, and the right-hand column is referring to a place in the document where the intent of the statute is being addressed. So we literally pulled as many of these as we could from the statutes, and just making reference where in the document. Right to the last portion where this is just talking about reporting requirements. Statutes say that the plan has to before adoption to various taxing authorities. So we will be sending this to the CRA board on July 25th. Okay. We will be meeting with them with them individually starting next month. It will be the document. then the other reporting requirement is with the planning commission, which we'll do on September 12th. Then we go into section 3, where we're talking about compliance with local regulations and other plans. I think we're addressing everything that we're made aware of. And so this first graphic now talks about the Tampa Community Development Agency requirements. And this graphic is taken from the latest updated
Mission goals.
right, stated there verbatim as well. Next page. So then we're showing, of course, the Tampa Heights Riverfront CRA within the overall city, where with all the CRAs, different colors and sources again. Riverfront CRAs highlighted outlined here. Then we talk about the document's compliance with the Imagine 2040 comprehensive plan. Same thing. Here we identify all of the column on the left. We're pulling out all the comprehensive plan sections. In the middle columns are all the goals and policies that are stated in the comp plan. Then the right-hand column is how the CRA plan references each of those sections. And we got some numbers to sort of fill in there. There's a few more that we need to pull out of the comp plan also to finish this section up. Then immediately we go into zoning, and we talk about both the current zoning in CRA, which for the most part is PDA zoning that CAC has. And then we talk about the map on the right is the current zoning, and then the map on the left is the future snapshot from the future land. Then we talk about the Tampa Heights Historic District and CRA's proximity to that. And there's only one block, of course, where the boundaries of both the historic district and the CRA meet. It's that one block. CRA is right across the street from the boundary. Historic district.
Between Oak and 7.
Oh, okay, okay, so, okay, all right. Then we talk about the Tampa Heights Neighborhood Plan, which is the statutes, a statute rather, requires that the CRA plan also is aligned with the neighborhood plan. So that's what we're talking about. That neighborhood plan is subchapter. And then we sort of show. Let's see. This is the overlay that was adopted back in October of last year, and sort of showing that it was the CRA. Now, this will have to go back and make sure this is well understood, because I think the boundaries for that overlay come up to the boundaries of the CRA. CRA is not included. So we'll have to add another line to sort of show that there is actual separation. And we talk about the Tampa Heights Riverfront CRA is part of the West Tampa Opportunity Zone. I was trying to find information to sort of see if so capital is actually using this opportunity zone money or whatever for their redevelopment projects that I've been trying to.
So there are any EOZ then?
Yes. Yep.
Much of it is.
Yeah, the entire CRE is within that blue, that sort of blue.
So where does the Tampa Heights EOZ and does we have our own EOZ that goes? Does it stop at Palm?
Well, this stops, it goes down the edge of, goes down the edge of the campus.
Well, but there's another EOZ that's in Tampa Heights. That's
Oh, okay.
not the West Tampa, it's not the West Tampa EOZ. There's a Tampa Heights Economic Opportunity Zone. No, it's not. I don't think it's is it East Tampa?
Isn't this what you have here?
Yeah, this is all of the city.
Okay, then maybe it's, but
That blue one doesn't.
But is that the one that goes all the way up Florida Ave, up to like MLK or whatever?
It's historical, which is like tax structures in that. He's talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the opportunity, I'm not talking about the Florida district.
I've seen the references on the west side. To the records report,
Yeah,
but I don't know where the road cutoff is.
but I thought there was a southern boundary cutoff. I thought it was like Palm. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little lost in these. I'm just curious how, because I know there's another opportunity zone in Tampa Heights. I wasn't aware West Tampa EOZ stretched into our neighborhood. But I do know that we have another EOZ in Tampa Heights, not the West Tampa.
Okay. Yeah,
Tyler Hudson just set it up, so.
who knows? Maybe Professor Green, maybe if there is one, ideally it would be in the back, just for discussion.
Because this came off of the city's website, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that would be correct. I mean, the orange is the additional one that you're talking about. The orange appears to be bound with the CRA.
Yeah, that's the CRA.
Oh, okay.
Within that blue.
Okay, so
blue ribbon.
Because that blue looks right, but the existing number is
Right.
So
What's that?
it does go past into.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look at the,
Thinking it's Cypress. So. Like Cypress.
Wonder if. Looks like Columbus to me. Yeah,
Columbus, I'm sorry.
I think what's happened is that the Florida zone there, the CRA boundary is not that far over. CRA boundary is actually offset to the left.
There's a little bit more. It's hard to see.
Right. That's fine, quick thought, because the alignment with the road to Carlton is almost up against the river. Right?
Right.
So I think the boundary of the CRA is actually skewed too far to the right.
Okay. Yeah. It's a little Florida.
So I think the blue boundary does become the west side of Florida.
Okay.
But not. But the CRA boundary is in fact offset to the left. Sense?
Then we talk about the CRA as, again, not part of the Tampa Downtown Partnership, sort of 7 downtown communities. Although much of Tampa Heights actually is. So the same thing here, we can make this line sort of at the sort of eastern edge of the CRA. Sort of shown as separate from the yellow line that outlines the downtown partnerships. SSD area.
Boundary is actually Tampa. So I think the other drawing, see how that boundary. Because the city of Tampa map, I think it's wrong. That's
Not his, not your information, no.
Then we included this next section, subchapter 3.9, proposed parking restrictions. Now, came across this, and trying to go back and find out where we got this from. But, I think it was from the city's mobility department's website. But I couldn't find any more information about it, and I don't know, if this is actually moving forward or what, but I understood that this was a request. Okay. Status?
I know they're starting to enforce certain areas, but I'm not sure if that map is the exact.
study about 2.5 years ago, pre-COVID. 4 years ago, pre-COVID, that was studying that area and coming up with recommendations. So I suspect that's a deliverable from it.
Okay.
And city council voted on it and approved those recommendations.
Okay. That's what we need to find out.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. Okay. That takes us to chapter 4, which we talk about CRA context and existing conditions. There's some other graphs and maps for the pictures to show here. We talk about land area, we talk about edge conditions, and then we show the see on the next page. We show the Tampa Heights CRA. Some of those colors are pretty light, but we've highlighted the Tampa Heights riverfront CRA, the downtown CRA, and then the West Tampa CRA. It's on this map. Showing just the proximity. We have 3 CRAs, same. Then we go into what we're calling sort of an inventory analysis, where we're sort of documenting on a series of maps a number of conditions throughout the CRA. So this is land area again, sort of see. There's some other notes that go on top of this map, but the CRA is approximately 77 acres, and depending on where the boundaries, whether it's in that middle of the street, one side of the street, or whatever. And then we document for the rest of these inventory elements that we're documenting on these maps. We're showing conditions both in the CRA and adjacent to the CRA. So here we're showing commercial buildings, commercial developments. As you can see, we can show the boundary of the CRA, and then there's a number there that says there's
375,000.
Yes. Okay. Commercial development within the CRA itself. These numbers won't reflect what's outside. We're just sort of showing that for just proximity purposes.
So the total is 500,000 square feet and 375,000 is office and 120,000 is retail.
It's the market.
Okay.
That's just within the CRA, that's not the edges, right? But the edges are mapped there.
Yeah, but it doesn't
So it's
feel like
not-
a relationship.
But no, but it's actually in this. Then we include residential, of course, within the CRA, non-residential at this point. Rural, then there's the 4 townhouse units that are just there. And then the one, showing it one, is it one house?
This is also planned to be the same, another 4 townhouses. It's planned, it's on a cellar, but it's not built yet.
Okay. That'd be very similar to the one.
Yeah, just opposite on the other
opposite
side.
side.
There's 4 single family homes.
Well, that one is, vacant right now, that particular. parcel.
No, I mean, within the, on that block, the block existing.
Yeah, we didn't show the single family
Oh, okay.
construction, just a multi.
Okay.
For this, diagram.
And they predate this CRA. Groups, I think those houses do. Right, yeah, that's the reason why we didn't.
Just before we do this map. The city of Tampa map that you have. The economic zone, this is Florida, it should be from here over. So this boundary in the city's map is scooted too far over to show that.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not your issue, it's city of Tampa's issue, just to differentiate, this is our boundary, is Tampa. The economic zone is meant to pick up these businesses between Florida and Tampa.
Yeah.
Like the Rialto.
Yes. And then we have on the next inventory map, we have institutions. See again, what's institutional within, well, two, of course. Stetson Law School and Bar Association building. And everything else that you see, those are all institutions around the area. Next inventory map, talk about open spaces, bike path trails, and things like that. And and we've got this picks up the open space that's along the Riverwalk as well. From the southern boundary, right there at that off ramp off of the interstate city. So we've got a total of about seven acres of public open space. And we did not include the plaza that's in front of Orange.
The stones where Stones Throw is and that little kayak place or whatever.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's technically retail, right? I mean, did you count that as retail or?
Yes, we did. So that shows up in, but the plaza is just outside of the patio dining. Okay. I think we identified this privately owned public space.
So that's an interesting, I'm glad you brought, I don't mean to throw a wrench into this whole movement of this thing, but I have another question. In this development, what is constituted as public versus private space and within the CRA? Like, because I mean, I think future moving, that's gonna be fatal kind of, or an issue of contention, like what is defined as public versus private space within this development, you know what I mean? Areas that may be traditionally seen as public, right? If I was an average person, right? I'm walking down the street, public space, right? No, it's not. It's so, but it looks like public space, not public space. So, I mean, what areas are defined specifically as that, and how is it being handled that the average doesn't need to be handled, that the average everyday person, right, needs to know the difference between public and private space. And I think that, and I have my own personal reasons for asking this, but I think it's in our current day and age, I think it's important to know the difference between public and private space.
Well, that's a good question because the average person wouldn't know. They just assume that. There's the rest there. But the public right of way goes to the back of the sidewalk.
Okay.
That's sort of a general rule of thumb. If there is no sidewalk, then it's sort of interpretation.
Yeah.
But that's typically, where, public property begins, and public right of way ends, and private property begins. Right at the end of the sidewalk,
Okay.
back into the sidewalk.
That sidewalk's really large.
Right, but that's still in public right.
So as long as I'm on that sidewalk, that large, however many feet sidewalk, that
Unless, let's say a project has extended the sidewalk, the width of the sidewalk. So now the public right of way is somewhere in the middle
yeah.
of the sidewalk.
Well, and then you go to that spot, and I don't know if you know where specifically where I'm talking about, the sidewalk kind of curves around and then it opens up into like this kind of large area that's it's mostly concrete, right? I believe.
That's
So is that public? Is that private? Yeah, there's no, where you can see out over the river and stuff.
Yeah.
So would that be public or was that?
It's part of public right.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, now, the Riverwalk, of course, everything from the north side of Seventh, all the way down to the edge of the river. That is public.
Okay.
That's both public right of way, and of course, from the Riverwalk itself. But you can sort of see that little elbow shaped space that we're showing right there. Well, I'm not sure what's this.
Yeah.
That, okay. That's private.
That's private.
Private.
Yeah, but it's technically still privately. It's not public space.
And it didn't come out of the
Well,
middle.
it's public open space, right? It's open to public. but
I understand that there are different legal
definition,
definitions in the,
they can tell you to get on.
yeah, basically, that's what I'm. And so and then I don't mean to go off on another tangent. So when they develop in the future, moving forward, spaces that are green, right? Are those considered public or private? Like, does it matter where is it specific to the location or like if I wanted to put a park in here and I wanted everybody and I wanted it to be public space, right? Would it have to be within any of these green areas or could it be within the existing area already? Like, what does that relationship look like?
If it's on one of these blocks where like that space right there, now that looks public, but it is on private property.
Yeah,
If a future building incorporates a space like that, it'll still be private. It might look like it's public.
okay.
There's
So this is like forward moving. Whatever's here is already, that's the way it's gonna be in the future, moving forward, public versus private, correct?
well, we don't know because we don't have the updated master plan, so it happens, we're not sure. They may be creating other open spaces as part of the development or building project, some of these larger blocks. Now, whether or not it'll be open to the public, that's another issue.
Yeah.
Because,
But it would still be private for all intents and purposes.
yes,
That's what I'm saying, like, so this map, as it stands, this is the inventory of public space, and so the public space I see here will be the public space moving forward ad infinitum. Correct, I mean,
right, unless they decide to build a public open space and dedicate it to the city. Leave it over to the city. But this is all public open space that's there now.
okay, sorry, I didn't mean to go off, I'm just curious about that, thank you.
Okay, and we look at vacant parcels, and of course, we do sort of show these larger vacant lots that are still within the CRA that are part of that, again, so CAC's long-term master plan. But right now, they've got roughly about 20 acres. They can still build on. And this sort of legend down at the bottom sort of shows what's vacant, privately owned, what's vacant, city owned, Then what's actually, used, I guess, I would assume inner surface parking.
Is it light purple or the dark purple privately owned? My eyes aren't that great.
The light is privately owned, the dark is city owned, and the one with like dashed, if you look closely, you can tell. The dashed border is used as surface parking. Vacant of buildings.
We know those are temporary.
So these are all private, but these are city owned, for example.
Okay.
They're darker. This is city owned. These are parking lots right now. These are city owned.
And we know over time, of course, those are inner uses. Change, both in the CRA and outside. Okay, then the next inventory map, we look at public parking. And this, those are a lot of little dots there. You can sort of see those are individual public parking spaces that are along these streets currently. Now what I don't recall seeing is if there's a meter.
There are most of them are metered spaces at this point.
They are.
Yeah, you can use park mobile.
Okay. But those are all public parking spaces. And you can sort of see the, the line around the garage, which has 1,500 spaces. Of course, that's private. For its purpose, but it is open to the public. That's what we describe as a shared parking.
What do you mean shared park between a private entity and the city?
Between the private entity and the general public, because if you park there, of course you're paying.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure that's probably an agreement with the city.
I had a question about parking revenues before. Because I like parking. I think you can do some interesting things with parking and the money that comes out of it. And I was curious who gets this parking money. Does it just go to the city or does it go to Soho? Like, because you can, I think personally, I feel like, we woefully undercharge for parking. I mean, in the city, in relation to what you see in other cities similar in size and shape. And so I feel like, you could raise a little bit and levy some of that money to fund other things like affordable housing and, some other types of things like art, but.
You're right, but that's if the city controls it. But in this case, I don't think the city controls it.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, and I don't know if anybody. I think we've had this discussion before, but anyways, it's a whole. That's for another time. I apologize. This is all interesting to me, so I'm just breathing it in.
I want to compliment the team on the maps. Those are pretty stellar.
Yeah.
They are as much.
And I think the last inventory in that we're talking about transportation, particularly the major roads for that matter. You can see the Tampa, Florida, what repairs, and then the proposed extension of the streetcar, Tico streetcar. Whether it's road tire trolley or whether it's something else, which is still up in the air. And then the dots sort of show where the proposed stops are. And the two blue arrows going east-west, that's 7th and Palm.
Mhm.
Of course, those are streets that sort of reach all the way across over New York City. And the reason we're highlighting them here is because they were identified in the Envision Tampa Center City master plan from years back. These sort of gateway streets that connect across several neighborhoods.
Same type of transportation.
But I know at one time there was, they talk about the streetcar actually not doing this loop, but actually looping back around once it gets, go east back towards, East City. So now it forms a, sort of, this type of loop. But those, Seventh and Palmer, Sixth Street, so, we don't know what we would necessarily plan for. Okay, section 5, the need for redevelopment. Excuse me. So here we're talking about the district needs, district needs assessment and then the remaining redevelopment opportunities. And of course, majority of that lies in the vacant property that is controlled owned by CAC. We were reminded not to suggest that as one of the needs for development, original song of Black English race. They raise other questions about the necessity of the, pursuing itself. So we're describing this in the narrative in a number of different ways that redevelopment is started and is well on its way to fulfilling the original objectives for establishing during the very beginning. But there's still more redevelopment opportunities that exist. And at this point, of course, they all have been to decide which one. So the next section, we talk about the Heights Development Master Plan. Now, these are older images from the 2014 Master Plan. And we haven't heard if we're going to be able to get some images from that part. So it shows what the new master plan actually entails. So we're using a qualified statement here. Expand on this. This is conceptual massing, of course, from the 2014 vision plan. Then we talk about the PDA zoning district that all this property sits in, and it just sort of shows this was part of their soil capitals. This is a map on the first page of their PDA application when they went for their design, which was approved in 2017. And this next section talks about the Heights Community Development District. We do show the map, which sort of coincides with, for the most part, with except just for their property holdings. So it shows up a little further. That's it. So in this section, we're talking about the Heights Master Plan. We're trying to describe things in a sort of a very general manner. Again, we just don't have any specifics. But what we were able to pull from their PDA application is a chart that's, I think it shows up later in the document. We're showing their entitlements. Where they did several different categories. general office, corporate office, of course, residential, and then, several other features. They have entitlements at this point to actually build. We're in this section, we do talk about market rate housing as well. And you'll notice that on the next page, we talk about affordable housing, but, of course, there hasn't been any affordable housing built. And we bring this issue up only to suggest that there's a possibility for affordable housing as part of this development. As further negotiations between the public sector, the private sector, let's say, continue on the future as this whole project gets built out. And if there, from what we heard, Clarence says that it's open to it, but he's going to strike with a deal with the city. How do they make it happen?
We put, do we put 30% or 30%?
Yeah, there's monies there.
And that's specific for our particular CRA as well as the other CRAs. correct?
Each one's 30%.
Each one has 30%.
Every year since
I-
fiscal year 22 or 3.
I think that's, at least, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but for me personally, as a board, as a member of this committee, that's pretty high on my list. You know, I don't want to live in a neighborhood where the people that work here can't afford to live here. And right now, we're there already. I couldn't afford to buy my house in my own neighborhood today. Luckily, I bought it 16 years ago. But rent now, what's a 1-1 at the Pearl run you? $2,000 for a box? Easy, right? Who can afford that? Not a guy waiting tables. You know? So for me, that's I really can't stress, we have these huge areas of density. If there was anywhere where affordable housing should have been put, it's right here. And not one of these, the city didn't have the foresight, and not one of these CRA agreements to build in any level of affordable housing. It's shameful. And it was an afterthought. And now we have 30% of funding. So for me, I want to make sure that at least on my, I want to make sure that we're at it. It's something that we should be supplying, or it should be part of this development. It's in our neighborhood plan. It's in the fiber of this neighborhood that we should have affordable housing for the people here. People should be able to live, work, and play here. Well, that demands we have affordable housing.
Discussions previously, and the city held some type of workshop to see how to deliver it. And some of the options was going directly to the developer. The other option was going to citizens to assist citizens. Another option, I can't remember what the third one is, but it was looking at different models around the nation's centers. Yes, right, for builders also. So I don't know where they are as far as implementing, but this file.
This is it is a nationwide situation, of course, and some cities are having to come up with a lot of creative ways. They try to test a lot of things that have been somewhat successful, but clearly the inventory of affordable housing is lagging way behind everywhere. Obviously, they're looking to the north, looking to Canada, sort of see what types of measures they're using, which in many instances we're not using here in the States. But people looking far and wide, because there is no silver bullet. When this issue comes up, you have to put as many options on the table as possible, with the hope that something is going to difference. But not one. One approaches. Combination by itself, so.
How do we go about spending the 30%? How do we go about spending that 30% this year?
Yeah, B Parks, who you met once before, she was in our communications role, she has housing background. And so she's moved over to that role for the CRA to do, the housing program with the 30%. So she's going to be coming to each of the CACs to explain, just like the commercial grants came before each of the CACs to explain the new commercial grants. She'll be coming to explain how that 30% within each of the CACs, which programs are going to be available for the use of that money. And that money hasn't been touched since it was set aside back fiscal year 22 or so.
Are any of the units that are being in, I'm sorry if I don't have this in my Rolodex, but like, are any of the units that are being developed in a waterfront CRA, going to be for purchase, or is it all for lease?
Challenge?
No, here, in Tampa Heights for front CRA.
I don't think. Yeah. I understand what you're.
It's because and I think this too, for me, at least, and again, I don't want to speak for everybody, just my own personal part, and this is kind of the big issue I had with rules, is that I want to see a pathway to ownership, because we all know that real estate is a big piece of building generational wealth. And I don't think anybody should be left out of that part of the American quote unquote dream. And so I would also like to say that there's a possibility of a pathway to ownership here in affordable housing in the CRA. I would like to see a pathway to affordable ownership, or some level where people can actually obtain, something to purchase here.
That's what those workshops were asking our input.
Yeah.
They presented different programs. Some of them were developed, some of them didn't have anything to develop. So I don't think we get to, but we just throw the baby out of the bathwater. Just so capital says. But the issue that I see is that we don't have a lot of available other developers in the CRA to be able to ask or to be able to commit some of that 30% towards what they'll be. The issue now is, how do we find a program to get it directly to residents? Have to be in residents. Now, you're saying that Adam said that he's willing. What was his response to it?
That's about it. He's willing to work with the city, but he did mention some type of, for something like that to work. He did mention that subsidy coming from somewhere.
We approved the last year, we approved 30%, it's like all the other CRAs. That's what we specifically have that on it. Taking it out.
Now, keep in mind also that, with all of this acreage that Soul Capital owns within the CRA, they can sell in one of those parcels.
And that goes to their, a lot of their zoning. We had this discussion, and especially more specifically, when we talk about zoning with alcohol. Alcohol zoning goes with building, not necessarily owner. What we heard from Sobel was that they didn't plan on selling, at least for the zoning areas. Maybe it's different for residential, but some of their zoning for alcohol doesn't include residential too. I don't know.
Well, it's changed over time. So
I mean, we put the money, like Courtney said, the money is there. We put the money aside. It's like all the other CRAs to figure out something. Something has to be figured out. When is B Parks plan on coming to speak to
Yeah,
us?
should be soon, one of the next. Yeah, we were doing the commercial grants first, and now we're shifting over to the housing grants.
yeah, that's it's an ongoing issue. It's a tough one, but we're relying on, advice from, a friend of mine, he's the economic development director out in Cali. That's economists. I'm just trying to understand, okay, what are the possibilities on the horizon? Because this issue is, it's constantly comes up. It's an ongoing problem, and gosh, every community. How do we address this issue for obtaining workforce housing? Okay, so then we talk about infrastructure within the CRA, and then just well, infrastructure, public open space, as well as other public realm investments that have already been made. And that map just sort of shows, we'll put a highlighter on that just to highlight that sort of the above grade infrastructure features, the actual rights of way, say, here. But we know there's been a lot of underground utilities, things like that, anticipation of new buildings that be built on a lot of these vacant properties. So we do talk about that. We also address issue of the bond measure that the CBD went out for to fund that, and how the commitment from the tip is actually battered down on the bonds. Okay, we're not trying to get too specific in regard, but just sort of identifying how this sort of came about. Then we talk about the Waterworks Park as a major public investment in public open space, the extension of the Riverwalk, the restoration of the spring. And it's sort of shows the extension of the Riverwalk. When the Riverwalk was extended, where did it stop? To the south before it was extended out into the south. What was the extension? We're trying to find out.
South? You mean
Well,
like, where did it stop?
South here. Okay, towards downtown, because we're trying to get an idea of how many linear feet the Riverwalk was extended.
I don't think it went past, it didn't go, well, they had that little weird thing at the Straz. And did it go north of there? I'm trying to remember.
Just went back into the sidewalk.
Yeah, well, they had that walkway in front of the Straz too. They had like that piece in front of the Straz. That's been there for a while too, but I don't think they really connected per se. They were just like two separate entities. It wasn't like fluid like it is now. But it definitely was always right in front of the museum of art. And there definitely was a small piece in front of the Straz. I don't remember, I can't recall off the top of my head how far that went down. I think maybe it went to that, what's that? Is it CAC Street?
Yeah,
Bridge? It goes right up to there.
It stops.
Stop there. Yeah, okay. I think that's where it stopped. Okay. And then from there, there wasn't really anything to my recollection. And then the rest, I believe, and then from Cass Street north, it was at that point that it was, okay.
Because that's one of the numbers that we're trying to figure out. Okay, so you talk about the Riverwalk extension when it happened, bring it up to the CRA, but we didn't know how long that extension actually was.
I think it was north of Cass.
Then we sort of summarize all of the redevelopment projects that have been completed to date in the CRA. Again, we will break this down into commercial, residential, institutional, and infrastructure, as well as public open space and amenities, and then parking as well. So the inventory map sort of showed where all that was, but here we identify each one of those elements and a little bit of statistical information about what it is, when it was built, let's say, how big it is. We don't have a for all of these items, we don't have all the numbers associated with reasonable costs. Okay. So some of these are approximations because.
Our building is free.
Um, Now, according to the card numbers, Jeff, 7.5 million. Okay. So you were up to 10%. Um, okay, and again, you can see by category how we're sort of identifying all the investment. Now, this was an attempt to try to get an idea of, and it sort of goes to one of the numbers where we get to sort of the end of the document. One of the metrics that sort of measures the performance of the CRA, TIF, or the success of the CRA in terms of redevelopment, let's say. But we're trying to add up all of these elements that have been built as the cost, and come up with a sort of just a big total redevelopment cost in terms of expenditure on both the public sector side and the private sector side. Wanted to do was sort of show that, again, as a measure of success, the public sector is invested this much in CRA. It is leveraged this amount of private sector. That's it. But that's where we're going to sort of probably come with those sort of numbers.
Reason why is because
Well, we wanted to use it, again, as a sort of way to sort of show that,
Jason that you have.
well, I guess, on the public sector side, I mean, we're still asking, Courtney and Melissa, to see if we can get at some of those numbers. And then to some of the private sector investments, we just don't have, a lot of.
But the public sector is pretty straightforward. Just do that. The bonds correct.
Yes, but I'm assuming over the years, correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, there was probably some other city expenditures in the CRA along the way, unless everything that's been funded is always through the tip.
Not all of them. So I mean,
Okay.
it could have been mobility investment, general fund investment.
And the value to put to all of that, you also have an issue with that also, you're saying?
Yes.
Because
And maybe we're maybe digging a little bit too deep or whatever, but like I said, we just wanted to sort of compare, those figures.
I would contend that that's a very pertinent question because of the statute. The statute says that we're going to tax people in this area to increase this area. Well, where did it go from? What did my tax dollar actually increase the value of this area to? I think it's a very valid question. I think it shows or validates the whole idea of CRA rate. Hey, we're talking about.
Now, later on in the document, we do sort of show the graph, how the TIF has sort of grown over the years. Where we're comparing TIF revenue with expenditures. And again, those numbers are available from we got those numbers from the annual reports. Then we go on to talk about, again, remaining development opportunities, and the next map sort of shows a lot of that highlighted areas. Those are vacant parcels within the CRA and adjacent areas as well. And then we shift gears and start talking about adjacent development trends and neighborhood impacts. Okay. So in chapter or subchapter 6.1, you start talking about development trends, and we notice that, again, as we look around the edge of the CRA, both to the north, in Tampa Heights and into the east of Tampa Heights, and we're starting to see this type of infill development starting to occur. I mean, there's a few single family houses that have been built also, but we notice this this is pretty much a common type of infill, even further north of the CRA. Yeah. Then we start to show in this next, this is a series of little infographics, charts rather. This is sort of like a community profile or snapshot. And in these, you know, we're sort of zeroing in on certain specific conditions. And Joyce, you might want to just talk about what these are actually showing. So.
Right, so these are projections from Esri. They utilize census data from 2000, 2010, 2020, and I don't know if you're familiar, but 2020, the census data is a little off. As planners, we have been reverted to the American Community Survey, utilizing the 5-year estimate between 2017 and 2021. Esri has incorporated their own projections, which we've checked with Hillsborough County planning staff, and they said it was efficient. So we're able to use this data to explain some of the housing characteristics and social demographics within the CRA.
What is it?
What is Esri?
The GIS.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the company.
right.
Also very.
It makes the planner's job a lot easier.
I think they're back in research. I don't know science research.
So there's a population decline. Am I saying that correctly?
Now, this is one of the things that we're gonna go back and check also, because this is the census tract that the CRA is. So it might include a little bit of area outside of CRA.
Well, this is not the census tract,
Oh, no,
right?
this one.
So this is using the community redevelopment area layer, right? Because the census tract would be tract 42, and it goes up to Ridgewood Park. So
Oh.
it's not the census
Okay.
tract.
Think about it.
This dip is probably before the Pearl got built.
Okay.
When they got rid of.
But I mean, from 2023 to 2024, there was a slight drop. That's the one that I'm kind of, that dip makes sense to me, the 2010 up. What doesn't make sense to me is why we're seeing a slight decrease year over year from 472 down to 455 or 3. My eyes aren't that great, but I'm doing the best I can here.
Now, we're attributing that because the only residential in the CRA, of course, is.
Yeah.
So we're and there are how many units in the?
314.
314. So we're assuming that there's probably 1.45 people
Yeah.
per unit.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if that's the cost, that decline, even if it's 10. If that goes back to the affordability.
Mhm.
So it could just be 2 people living in 1 bedroom than just 1 person living in a bedroom.
But they're taking into consideration that.
right,
Also,
right.
But that's the average. Are these actually reported? Or is it just the average?
These are actual, this is actual population and people living there. Now, of course, people, come and go, of course,
Yeah.
So, but
or break up even.
my next question is, I'm sorry I got all these questions. I've been a pain in your ass today and I apologize. Owner versus occupied. If the Pearl is the only place where you have livable units, and that is strictly renters, and we would have no ownership, that should just be 0 across the board. And yet I'm seeing 38 to 61 ratio, 2010, and then 2018. Is that 2018? Am I reading that? Or 2020?
That's what we need to verify, because the only owner occupied units in this area for those townhomes.
Yeah, that we should really.
Then if you cut them, then you become a single.
Right, so if we were to get this information by census tract, again, it would be skewed because of Ridgewood Park.
Yeah.
So this layer, again, we cross-checked with Hillsborough County with Esri as being the source, is like the most accurate projection that we have right now.
But so that data maybe came from the census tract or no?
Well, I don't, well, so it says it, so census 2000,
Okay, yeah,
census 2010, census 2020, which is a little off. And then the projections that Esri used based on the census and the American Community Survey equates to their projections from 2023 to 2028.
Okay.
The Esri tools are useful. What they're doing is taking data points and they're interpolating between.
Yeah.
They're basically saying this is 500,000 and this is.
So when you tell me there's a margin there, I mean, it's a hint. Yeah.
Because you're not, there's not one data source that's gonna be boom, 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 boom by line. So what they're doing is interpolating data.
Yeah.
These are meant to give you a,
Fuzzy math.
these guys, these are.
Sounds like fuzzy math.
It's data versus extrapolation. This is extrapolated from existing data.
So, but still, ownership, you brings the question up about. Ownership. If there's no ownership.
That's what we're, the question we're at also, whether or not we can. If we can't verify that, we have to take this out, because again, it doesn't accurate. But
On the north side of the curve, there's all those homes.
That's true.
Right.
So
But I don't think they're in this yet.
Yeah, but they're not in CRA, so they.
just, I mean,
Half walk towards Webster is like Matt's house. And,
so just on the other side of the curve, those are in the district thing.
Not north, no, but to the east.
Immediately across the street.
Nope.
On the north side.
No,
Ross is the northbound, but the block to the east is on Palm Island, Ola block.
But
that's-
ownership.
I don't think
that could be, I don't think what they're doing is they're including that. Yeah, so,
And that may be possible, but I still see that, and to your point, I get what you're saying about, I understand now. So like, yeah,
The
on
first
some
part-
level.
So I do numerical modeling for a living. And the first, one of my favorite textbooks, first sentence. Models are wrong, some are useful.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand.
This is trend.
Yeah.
Then the next graph, we do sort of show, the, property values. And, we took this from the county tax assessor.
Right, and I believe this is comparing like West Ross and West Francis, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, this is all like accurate, like by parcel.
And then this is the edge, right? Not within this area.
Right. And then as we.
I feel like
talk
that's
about,
should be more aggressive than that.
Well,
Just my personal experience, but you know.
but keep in mind, transaction to the one. This is average home value.
Yeah.
Those taxables.
Say it again.
So the high price points that
I'm referring to.
we're seeing in the transactions that Justin's referring to are all single points and maybe 1 in 10 of them on the street, right? So they're high data points. You kind of have to chalk those off as outliers because the appraised value in what the basis of tip funding such is going up appreciably, not triple digits for last year. Yeah, 6%. So you basically are seeing a smooth line.
Then as we talk about the adjacent development, both proposed and it's built. Next sentence, so we talk about this is the 1701 North Florida Avenue projects. It's near completion. And then there's another, this is that top image, sorry, that's the 1701. This.
I think that's the Loki Capital one. It looks like the Loki. That's the Loki Capital one that's at 7-3 or whatever.
Yeah, I think this one, the drawing, that's the one that's proposed, get exactly where. Yeah,
It looks like the drawings I saw for Loki Capital.
How many units for the 1701?
360 or 30 or something like that, over 300. Yeah, because I remember we got them to commit to 10% affordable housing.
that's a full block. Right?
Yeah,
What is this one? Same one?
No, it's a different one. I think the
Oh, I see.
the one on the top is the 1701, and we need to put the title for the one that other image there. That's a different project altogether. And in fact, that's proposed. Okay. And then below that, of course, we're showing the proposed YFCA's and Nelson Development's mixed-use development project. And understand those are still being negotiated with the city. But this is what they proposed originally. Some of those clustered around, that Florida Palm and Tampa Street sort of intersection. Chapter 7, we are now talking about the public participation process that we use to gather all the input from both you and the community through the different workshops to get input for the CRA plan update. Okay. We're just sort of describing the process. A couple of images, but put a few more from the workshops. Chapter 8, we're calling this a conceptual vision for the future because we know there's already a conceptual vision for the actual buildings that will be built as part of Soul Capital Master Plan. What we're talking about here, for the most part, are CRA enhancements, or what we going to describe as supported development efforts. You recall from the workshop, we came and showed you a lot of those smaller scale public ground enhancements. That's what we're talking about. So we realized early on that the vision for the CRA really entails what is already planned or proposed by Soul Capital, and then any other type of small scale sort of supported feature that that would enhance the area further. Support redevelopment, and we talk about a number of features here, but actually what we're going to do is list them out in different categories of the infrastructure, amenities, things like that for these other supportive features.
Yes, guys. For most CRAs, usually, how many developers are usually CRA?
Okay.
And I know it varies, but yeah. That's it. Is there anything proportionate, some type of ratio or anything of sort of just specific to the CRA because they're all kind of figured differently? You don't have any data?
Yeah, there's no. To answer your question, Porter, no, there's no sort of average, it just depends, and, the different CRAs around here, here in Tampa. Which you have, SPP down in the Channel District, that's a major developer, but there are other developers there too. They're doing CRA for quite some time, and still continue to build. Just so happens here, that, of course, one entity is, when they step into, their role, they assemble all the other land that was built. Well, and now, of course, they're you know, but it could vary. Then another supportive initiative, this is something that we heard from Adam Harden about, is he was big on the issue of extending the streetcar line to Tampa Heights. And of course, we can only assume that when the developers, they also teamed up with the Y, recognize that opportunity also to build them. That's even though, our train system is, let's say our streetcar is one way to go to get to be an actual transit facility. But it's a start. And of course, this is a trend to start very. That's where a lot of the higher density growth is happening in a lot of cities, is around the trends. Then we'll talk about this that is one of the transportation elements, and then talk about connectivity features, well, access and mobility enhancements. And here because that's one of the objectives set by the CRA board, let's say, we're talking about connectivity both to and from the CRA. As we started talking about CRA early on, about how this is becoming, well, it already is a destination. It's becoming more so. So the issue of how people get here, not just by driving, walking, as people from the surrounding community, let's say. And then you recall also we showed at the what month it was, we showed this we used this idea of another connected feature across the river to the West Tampa CRA, the West River development down to Julie Lane Park, as the Riverwalk system expand that is now over some point over the near-term future, it will be along the west side of the river as well. So we're talking about the potential for connecting over to that south in the subchapter as well. Economic development objectives, so the CRA cessation. Okay. Here we talk about the remaining CRA district timeframe, okay, which is 2043. Okay, and then we look at this is the next chart. This is where we're showing the this is every 2 years. Okay, we're showing the TIF revenue versus the expenditures up until 2022, which is the last do we have a 20, yeah, speed, not here typically, but I think there's the 2023 annual report.
But right, so yeah, this needs to be updated. We do have an updated chart, but we made this before the 2023 report was issued. But we do have, I did update it. I just need to update it in this document.
So here, the only thing we can sort of compare is the revenues and the expenditures. And this information comes from the annual reports. CRA annual report. Okay. This is a graphic, we need to sort of update this, but this just talks about really the objective of the, of the tip to sort of grow over time till it gets to a point where it sort of sunsets, let's say. And redevelopment objectives have been met, within that time frame. Then the next section here, we talk about benefits from redevelopment within the CRA. This is where we bring back those elements that were in that early infographic from the CRA board's objectives. So here we're taking each one of those. Now we're trying them in this manner to talk about, again, we're trying to sort of use these as a way to sort of measure the success of each one of these indicators. So economic development, okay, we have a column there where we call analysis, sort of quick sort of snapshot, then the status of things, and then the policy recommendations over on the in that right hand column. Then we have attainable housing, and we do the same thing, sort of measuring where, and then over on the right hand column, of course, where these are our policy recommendations for achieving that particular objective. We will probably we will be about this. We want to make sure that here, because we know this is a priority for the city and the CRA, we want to make sure that this recommendation that we're making here are aligned with the city broader objective for attainable workforce housing. Then the next indicator is connectivity. Again, that's what I was just alluding to about some of the program enhancements that fall in this category, and how a lot of the wayfinding features, place branding features, things like that, help to bring people here, connect people with the CRA, and also how they help people move to other areas away from the CRA.
So that's one. Oh, I didn't see a picture of them.
We might show, we're trying to figure out how to show that. What we don't want to do is suggest that this is something that's true when we have. So it's
But we contribute our $10.
Okay. But we'll figure out how to address that more quickly. And then the last two of these indicators, quality of life. So here's where we're, these are rather subjective sort of measures, let's say, because, but we do know, we can describe how, the investments that have been made, in the CRA redevelopment that's gone on here, have contributed to, again, revitalizing the area and making, the area more appealing, more accessible, things like that. Now, we, we don't talk about, we're not addressing it because I just don't know if it's ever an issue, let's say. From the very beginning of the CRA, I'm not sure how many people were actually living in the CRA or that matter due to displace or whatever. And the reason I bring it up is because somebody said, well, so if that was the case, you certainly didn't, and those folks fall in. Okay, they were removed. So, so we're just sort of generalizing here, talking about benefits of the Riverwalk extension, park, and connectivity features, and things like that that contribute to the quality of life because for area residents and for people from across the city. And then the last one is community engagement, which we already talked about. But again, that's one of the objectives of the CRA board, the status of we're putting here again as metric. Sort of show how as this redevelopment process continues on, there is this ongoing community engagement, which of course you're part of. So. And then the last section is the legal description, which describes the boundaries of the CRA. And if there's anything that's left to attach to the document, that's what we had in the section. Most not to get what by from that. Yes. But that's the way the document is sort of shaping up. I'm sorry if I got long-winded here, so you have the link to this. So take a look at it, and of course, if you have any feedback, of course, it's coherent. Should give us a role. Take any divisions of the subject. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Next is new business. Finished business.
The speed bump kit is solved. A speed bump.
Yeah,
Speed table.
sorry. Table.
Yeah. And then high technical terms.
Yeah.
We didn't stay for.
We have any.
Oh, really?
I think we brought it to their attention.
Yeah.
It's like the money.
For the portability.
Yeah. Well, that CRM will help us.
So as far as business chairman, I was wondering about the roundabout. I saw you sent the matrix, the graphs.
Oh, yeah, this is the last page. Yeah, so yes, and I don't even, you might have, well,
It's okay.
so Bryce is one of the newest members with Melissa Martinez's team. And so he's helping push forward projects. And so yes, was it you who created this?
I did not create it. Yes, that matrix that we put together was kind of the brainchild, I think, of Melissa and Nick, and we're in the process of hiring another project coordinator right now. For projects that are in the planning phase, those fall within my purview. And so if there are any updates on any of the projects going on within any of the CRA districts, I'll go in and kind of update that periodically just based off of any, recent developments. But yes, this is a new tool that
Yeah.
we're laying to all of the CACs just so that they have an idea of all of the ongoing projects and where they're at within the process.
So each meeting you should get an updated spreadsheet on
Mhm.
where these stand, but my other question was, do you know if individual has officially accepted or gone through any of the, interviewing finalization process for the
Melissa,
position?
for the arts position, we have someone. I just don't know I don't know if they accepted it. And if they did, I don't know what their starting date is. We would have to confirm that,
Okay.
with Melissa.
But it's in the works, and that's the
It is in the works.
time to talk about these roundabouts. But you can see they live on a project sheet, these roundabouts.
So the whole is just continue.
Since the meeting for June is canceled, can we have that person attend our July meeting?
And that was my thought, if this person has, come on board.
If they're on board, yeah.
Yeah, that was my thought, because I know you guys have asked to talk with Robin, so I was hoping that this person would get onboarded. And then right away could come and hear your thoughts and ideas with the artists.
If this person doesn't accept, is there a backup candidate?
I don't know.
I would have to ask Melissa, yeah.
Backup candidate, come here.
You guys can persuade them to take the job, yeah.
So I haven't fallen off the radar, I'm just trying to get this
You may be
person.
scaring them out of it.
Yeah.
You have to meet us first.
Yeah, so it's there. I've reminded Robin that, to have that individual accompanied by her to come and let's talk art. So hopefully July, he'll or she will be on board and we'll come and do that discussion with you all.
Another old business, the recalls, is that completely out of the question?
It is, I did, just as you guys had asked, Jeff Burton, I messaged him, I did not hear back from Jeff, but I sent him a good email. Please tell me about anything you can tell me about refalls, and so I never did hear back from Jeff. I talked to Whit Rammer, and they just thought, at that location, the location that was discussed wasn't the right location for what was being recommended. I guess he had talked to ecological experts and just that particular thing with also the high maintenance, and you can have another follow-up with, but I was told it wasn't just. And it had to have, and there would be a lot of maintenance, and, but Whit did say if there are other ideas, that wouldn't be as high maintenance, and he actually named it.
Well, if we're not spending any money at all, why don't we start spending something?
People watch.
I like that.
But before we move past
I
that,
get community.
I thought it was just, we gotta just drop it in the concrete. And
You're not wrong, but if you deposit it on the bottom and it's like a reef, you have to take responsibility for moving it essentially in the direction. It's kind of a waiver. And I think what Whit is saying is that they don't want the liability of putting it in there. Now, the other trick that, remember, there are docks there.
And boats might hit them.
Boats backing in and out. So these, for example, if the docks are there, you put them underneath docks to get them out of the way, and the tide goes out during a low water event, they actually get crushed and they kind of make the damage dock. So Whit had all those counterpoints for me, and I just said, look, man, just do something. And the substrate, and I know where that comment's coming from. It's not from Whit. There's a scientist over at Applied Sciences who was basically as an alternative idea, he was trying to advocate for.
What's the alternative idea or?
Of course, it's called living shorelines, and they basically want to have like plantings or floating islands or.
We got that presentation too.
We did get it, and it's a strange territorial beef that within the city of Tampa about this program. It's I missed
With the living waterways,
with the living shoreline.
living shorelines.
It's a federal program. So they basically mangrove. I think it's caught in the middle of it too, right? Is that different than that boardwalk one we looked at? No, that's the same one. Are you talking about the floating island thing? Yeah, the one in Chicago. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just one of the, that doesn't fall after this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a federal program, but they're trying, but they're kind of hamstrung by the way that the ownership is.
So now when you say ownership of the waterway, may I inquire as to, does this have to do with maybe a certain engineering, a corps of engineers?
It's a more complex than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, I actually can't imagine, that's why I bring that up.
So imagine nobody's really sure who owns a piece of property.
Oh, no,
Bunch of structure.
have you ever had to deal with FDOT in the city of Tampa?
Well, he pointed out that it's civil worship.
Yeah, no. Oh, civil worship. I forgot, I actually, thank you for, I forgot all about that. Now you reminded me, there is a worship down there.
There is there's a bunch of stuff that kind of constrains the city. So it's not easy. There was some places that could be installed, I thought easily. DOT said they would do it. Or if anybody ever says they can't or doesn't know how to do it, I'll help them. I've done this a couple of places. I want to help the city do something.
So I cringe when I hear all of the past couple of years of initiative and well, us putting dollar amounts next to not just open brain projects. And I've always been told that, you know, you gotta watch the counts. Because the truth is that COVID allowed for us to catch up with dollars that we have. Trying to make a difference in our community by doing things that benefit the community. So I guess we're back to the drawing board, but I want to make sure that at least it's on the record that we're this long for $7 to go.
It's two on track and two on hold, so.
But this
Green, we need to just stand in the roundabout with a sign that just says, you know, art. And, you know, we can say, you know, we've made some progress towards having something there. It's only a couple of years, so.
Future home of prospective art projects.
Look at meat, rare, medium rare. This is all medium rare. For the biggest spot already. Anyway, any other unfinished business? Number 7, announcements. January, June is canceled. July would be, meeting in July would be July 16. And for the discussion, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Hey.
See you in 2 months.
Best Reed,
Thank you.
Thank you. So that goes to council, receive the CRA in
July 23rd.
for approval.
Yeah, for approval, you know, but we gotta have our one-on-one with them in June, making sure, you know, barring our any major issues or recommendations or changes, then July 23rd.
Here's how the city council's posture these days. I did your spiel 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. I was out of town. I appreciate it.
And they yelled at me. It was a
Let me have
good day to go.
I'll take-
We had a lot.
And then I pull it out.
I appreciate that. With your Raleigh.
Heard it. I mean, as far as like the actual presentation.
See you then.
Was the camera got done before I was because I messaged Melissa just to see about that arts coordinator position. I'm like